By the name of Allah, the greatest, the most merciful. Today I will be starting a presentation about human resources management at data center. And usually I YouTube my videos in Arabic, but this time I found some English-speaking followers are interested in having a lecture. But I promise to have this one in Arabic as well. So, shall we start? Our presentation contains almost 4 tracks. First of all, we will be discussing the planning of human resources to work in the data center and the IT department probably. Then we will be having a discussion about the hiring, which is the second phase usually, and it contains certain tracks for control and also to just optimize the resources and raise its performance. We will also discussing the second stage. Once we adopted those resources or we have them in our department, what shall we do to maintain their capacity and also keep them competitive, and at the same time realize a balance between what they realize or what they believe as benefit for them, meanwhile realize the benefit for the organization. We know that information technology is not only a tool for enabling business right now, it's became the whole business itself. It's amalgamated with business processes. It's having an economical value for the organization. Meanwhile, the whole operation will stop if the IT or the technology stops. So, because of that, we find people, managers, planners, strategists, CEO, board of directors, mostly they are discussing technology and IT and how can utilize it, how can they can actually benefit out of it. But rarely they will discuss the human part of it. Those soldiers, those hidden soldiers behind the technology who are maintaining it, keeping it up and running. We found that without having those people cared about, well organized, competitive, up to the edge, motivated, then a data center will not perform well and it will not serve the organization as per expectation. And at the same time, competition. If you look at the market and the furious competition over there, you have to realize the importance of keeping and aligning your IT resources, which is also part of your human resources. Today, or in contemporary organizations, worker is not anymore as maybe 100 years ago. He is actually a worker and he will just doing his work daily for a certain wage or something. He is a partner. He is the real asset in your organization, and part of those is the IT people as well. Organizations also in the 21st century is witnessing an increasing demand for computing and connectivity. And we can characterize this by maybe 2 examples that many workers would love to extend the access or the ability to access to the computer system or business software and business applications to work at home and be able to manage certain activities probably from home, or if they are traveling somewhere. This actually connectivity mandates extra burden on the IT people to just keep things on this level of connectivity and availability, of course. Meanwhile, there is a blending between the personal usage and the business one. For example, a worker will be able to maintain his own files in the workspace probably, or utilize his own mobile or his own PC or tablet or whatever. And this actually also mandates more extra headache for the IT people, and probably the way we used to handle such things today, we have to reorganize ourselves and of course our IT resources to cater for or to be able to afford this new business needs or new demand for computing and for connectivity. When raising a question, is technology staff different from other human resources in our organization? Are they different from probably sales people or from accounting department staff? Are IT people unique? Actually, during the last years, I used to investigate this issue, and it's actually overwhelming for me. I'm trying to capture whatever information I can find around that. I found that probably I can summarize it in 5 points. I found that they are more self-confident as they are controlling technology. They may reach to a certain kind of probably arrogance, or I cannot just say that, but it is a kind of control. People who are actually behind these clever machines, they are supposed to be more cleverer than the machines itself, than the computing devices and the network and the technology. And they are having a good self-learning capability, which is actually started from the early ages of, from the early days of learning about computers, and it will continue as there are new models are coming, and there are lots of variations in the models and the releases and the versions in the database level or the operating system level, or even the applications they manage to maintain or even develop. So they are in a continuous change that sometimes I can say that other businesses or other people in other departments in the business organization, they may unable to cope with. For example, sales probably have less life cycle than the technology, because technology is just changing all the time new releases. You cannot stop at a certain release because you will lose your competitiveness. And this actually need also to be realized that IT people usually start belonging to their communities or professional communities rather than their own organizations. Those who are certified, for example, in Oracle or Microsoft or Unix, Linux, or whatever it is, or they are Java developers, they believe that they are a community of professionals, and sometimes this relationship will just make the relationship with the organization a second priority. They feel that they are coming from a technology perspective, and they are working for certain organization to maintain certain technology. They are trying to isolate themselves from sometimes its politics. And this is really interesting to know that some of them believe that at any time, at any wave, or at any storm inside the organization, they can jump out of the boat. Why? Because they are competitive. They can found some other work, some other in other place, and globalization, which is actually a sense of a globalization, because uh, technology is independent from country. You can say that, okay, I am a sales person and I am actually located in this market. So I know very well this market. I know the customer behaviors, what they believe, how shall I approach the customer for the sales. But when it comes to technology, it's idle. It's actually have no differences. Servers that work in the States will work in Japan, will work everywhere else. Probably that the language barrier and that is much less in influencing and even impacting, and with the globalization of the English languages probably is also giving more emphasis on this topic. However, this is a long story. I don't want just to stop too much here. And I feel importantly to mention that they are also risk I don't know the right word, but actually they are able to accept change. People in technology, because they are encountering all these changes around the time and around the weeks and months, they are more ready to accept change and even influence change rather than other departments. Uh, this is a proposal. However, I don't have actually certain statistics that support it. But those are 5 key points that actually I feel it is making IT people little difference, let's say, and they deserve to be considered in IT human resources policies and practices, let's say. My model about the human resources management in data center or in IT function in the organization consists of 4 tracks, as we mentioned earlier. First of all, planning and hiring, then developing and managing the human resource, then transitioning. In the planning stage, we have also 3 sub levels that we will be discussing. Business requirement. First of all, we should hire based on a business requirement. Then we have to consider implemented technology and available budget. All this every year we should consider those factors and put a plan for hiring more people. Once we hired or decided to hire a certain people, we have to collect resumes and keep some list of candidates all the time, not necessarily when we need, because sometimes we don't have time to find. We have to have some resumes ready. Then we have to consider the evaluation criteria. We have to make some ground check and orientation. I will be coming all to that together. Just not waste time over there. When it comes to planning, and this is what I actually witnessed in many organizations, that they actually hire suddenly and sometimes terminate people suddenly without any plan. I feel that organizations should plan for the human resources to be actually recruited, and let us look at it from different point of view, from capacity building or capability building. In your IT department, you're supposed to isolate or inventory all the needed capacities from human resources. You have to, for example, you need database administrator from this capability. You need the operating system person for Linux. You need the capability of backup and restore. You need the capability of Linux migration to, for example, other system. You need programming capacity. You need programming in certain programming languages and web development as well. So rather than dealing with human resources from what resources I do have and what resources I do need to add for them, no, it is actually the opposite. You should supposed to identify what capabilities you need, then allocate the resources, the available resources, or probably from outside the department, the resources that you need. Probably you need a capacity for a short period of time. You don't need actually to hire a person there. You have to find a contractor who will be doing the job, or find a freelancer who will be coming for a few weeks to maintain this for you. And once done, everything will be okay. You don't need to hire the whole capacity. On the other hand, certain recommended business requirements actually mandates planned or long-term capacity. For example, if you are migrating from a legacy system on Fox Pro or on probably old version of Oracle, and you would love to implement a ready-made package or application. So don't actually start hiring people on the implementation time. You're supposed to be bringing and building the capacity in your department from early time while planning for it. You may also train your people, and this is part of the capacity building. Rather than bringing new people who don't know the organization, invest in your people, let them actually be ready to play part of the roles, let's say. You cannot actually make them very professional from the first time. For example, people who knows very well Microsoft servers and Exchange and let's say backbone systems, they are actually sometimes may find this migration to Linux or to Unix or whatever Solaris so tough for them, and with the existing burden of work every day, they might feel incompetent in that. But if you have a plan for long-term education and investment in your people, probably they will help the migration smoothly, at least once they know it very well and they found an opportunity to learn something new. They will not actually be opposing, or they will be opponent to the change characterized in this migration. Also, the technology sometimes has its influence to shape what capabilities you need and at what time. Of course, the available budget. So many IT managers that I met, they did not consider the budget. They feel that they have like extended budget or infinite resource of money where they can hire people, and because of that feeling they hire sometimes more people than needed, which will make your IT management crowded with people, and sometimes you fail to utilize those people, and at the same time failing to utilize the resource, it's a kind of a humiliation to the professional person. If there are professional people in your department, they don't love to have salaries without doing anything. They know this is a slow dying. They are actually not practicing very well, and this actually will guide them or will just put them in a track to lose their capabilities and their professionalism on the long term. Parallel with that, there are always a growing demand on IT technology and IT services. Because of the business, it's actually expanding, new trends are coming, new campaigns, and sometimes new business units will be opened, sometimes new branches which will mandate certain requirements for your department. On the same time, there is a kind of new risks coming that actually supposed to be dealt with. This continuous variation or continuous change will always mandate and will be reflected on the IT planning part. IT management or IT board of directors or whatever the leading party is doing, they're supposed to always maintain a list of the capabilities that they need, and they have to enrich this based on the needs and the actually new trends. Part of the factors that affect your human resources planning in data center is the IT strategy, which is stemmed out and totally dependent and aligned with the business strategy or corporate strategy. Your IT strategy should articulate the key components and what are the objectives and what is the informational model that you are following or pursuing to make information available for the business departments. This actually will just put, for example, how many data centers you will be having, what are the redundancy considerations, what are the remote branches, your business continuity plan, how you will be actually your relationships with the contractors, what you are going to outsource, are you going to use in-source development or what? All this stuff is also shaping the strategy that you will be following with your human resources. In fact, the IT governance models have many things to say in this issue. For example, COBIT just trying to articulate what we call the technological direction that need to be set, and the technological direction will just articulate, as we said, the informational model. Part of the information is the technology that we are supposed to be using, and any migration to a new technologies, if it is there, should be mentioned. And the operating requirements, are we going to make it available, or what kind of system that will be available all the time, 24 hours by 7 days? Probably certain systems will be available in less availability. So the service level agreement that we built between IT departments and the business departments is going to shape what the human resources I have to have in order to be all the time cost effective and to be functional on the expected capacity, not more, not less. At the same time, I may have certain projects. What are the projects that I am supposed to be implementing in this coming year? Part of the plan is just to provide resources for make the projects running, because if there are no resources, probably I will be failing to deliver the projects on time. And some kinds of projects is so critical, or sometimes coupled with a certain business requirements. For example, you need to have this system up and running before certain event or certain campaign or certain sales season. In many even government sector, you will be having certain seasons or certain activities. For example, in universities, they have the period for recruiting students and the enrollment, which is usually in September and November. So if you are planning to have certain projects that need to be completed and ready before that time, you have to make sure that you have the resources to do it. Now I can summarize a few lessons learned that we should not depend on strategic for strategic activities on temporary people. We should not use temporary teams. Sometimes I found strange behaviors in this issue from certain companies that they hire from outsourcing parties that they will provide them with a person for 3 months or 2 months only. And sometimes this person will take more than the 3 months to realize what is the situation. So you should depend on your local resources or long-term contracts to provide the service that you need and the human capacity that you need to implement in your IT flavor of capacities. Other lesson learned is what I called immature capabilities. Probably we came to one of the examples that you imagine that you are migrating from Windows box to Solaris box or Linux box in the server room. So you cannot actually give simple training for your people and think that they will be able to migrate you to the new system. This is an assumption that sometimes will make the project delayed, and it will take much time for them to make. It's actually inappropriate to make your business departments your lab rat. You should always consider that we have to provide the right capability to do the things right and from the first time. The third factor is underestimated security issues while trusting people to work in your data center. Sometimes temporary people that you brought, you feel that they are secured and they are actually honest to maintain your IT department with full security, while this is not true. You should be always signing papers, non-disclosure agreements with the contractor and the person himself. Lots of consideration are there. IT security people are so expert in that, but I'm just raising this point here because of its importance. As IT department is a service department and it's providing informational service usually to a certain set of users, sometimes in one compound or sometimes far away. Now with the internet age, you may consider users for your existing systems or applications to come from around the globe because they are supposed to be potential customers or potential suppliers or whatever. Part of this community, of course, is your employees who are sometimes working remotely and would love to access the database and the systems. So the challenging question was, and it will continue to be, number of resources needed. Is there a de facto number or recommended number, one person to serve how many users? In fact, there were no ultimate figures, but I found some studies mentioned that mean response for actual was one person for 136 users. Other studies by Gartner reached to 82 users per one staff. So the more users you have, of course, the more resources you will be. At the same time, the process that you adopt will sometimes harness and sometimes will help, depends on what kind of process you are adapting. You have always to focus on the process parallel with the resource capacity. You should make sure that the team is aligned with the process rather than it is fully dependent on the person capacity and person intelligence. So we depend on a system rather we depend on the qualified workers. This actually means that work should be actually aligned and encapsulated within known processes, and we should make sure that the staff is adhering to this process and just follow the process, and day after day we may enhance the process. We should never actually depend on the human factor, just fully let him do the job the way he likes. No, this is actually makes things unmeasurable and of course unmanageable. One of the ideas is just to maintain a list of the needed skills and to have a matrix to match the skills with the existing resources. I have to have a list, and maybe I can classify it into periodic tasks and processes, and whatever projects I do have, and the talents and the skills needed for maintaining these uh, different tasks running. For example, I may need a task for configuring, configuring the exchange. I have a process for building a software unit in a certain programming language. I may have to troubleshoot network conflict. Maybe I have to, one of the things is to train a user on an application. This is one of the tasks. Who will be doing this? The IT technology people. As far as it is responsibility for them, then they should be documenting this capacity and be able to share it between each other. The skills evaluation we actually discussed was one of the ways was to isolate what kind of resources we need, and it's the minimum IT resources, the minimum requirements will lead to the needed budget. Simple estimate for the salaries and for the benefits will lead you to what kind of budget this year you are up to. Then you will be negotiating this with top management. Probably they will approve or they will just disapprove certain amounts. And I feel that usually the available budgets usually are much less than the dreamed one. On the other hand, having more budget than needed or infinite resource of budget will create troubles as well. It will actually lead to much imperformance. While planning our IT resources, we should consider a budget, and it is based on the annual salary possibly for the staff according to their capabilities and of course to the market salaries. We should not be actually, I feel a human resources best practices is having two key values. One of them is just you should give at least the market share salary for the person in order to retain him and to consider his employment as a long term rather than short term, and then he will be jumping to the next better one once he found a good or at least better place to have more salary or more benefits. At the same time, giving extra salaries, I found that certain organizations, when they are in rush and they wanted to find and have and recruit the best resources, sometimes they will be so generous of giving above the market salaries. If this is with a small ratio, it's good. It will attract good people to work with you and to maintain them for a good period. But if you are giving extra salaries, I don't advise even the companies. On the same hand, I don't advise even the workers themselves. My friends and my colleagues don't rush and go for such kind of opportunities because it's not long term. On the other hand, we should focus on the long-term recruitment and on the what we call loyalty to the worker, to the organization. We should be always focusing not on just finding the resource to do certain tasks and he will be out of the company. We should be always investing in your staff and give a kind of deferred benefits like long-term loans, like some other facilities, some kind of, for example, training and recreations. Many ways can be actually used to just please the people and let them focus on their work and always consider maintaining their career path as we will be discussing on the management and retention. All this together will just help give you an idea what is the cost of my plan for the coming year, considering the in perspective to the human resources. I think I have to stop at this point. This is the end of first episode, and there are two more episodes to continue discussing this interesting topic. I may also recommend that you may go and read the small book that I wrote about this topic. You may find it at the mentioned address here. Now, thank you very much and see you later.